Good morning, everyone. I want to start today with a simple question. How many of you have ever had an idea you believed could change the world but didn't know how to make it happen? Whether it's a new business idea, a product you believe in, or even a creative project. Most of us have been in that position at some point. Now, what if I told you there's a way to turn that idea into reality? Even if you don't have the access to big investors, banks, or venture capitalists? Today, I'm going to talk about crowdfunding, a tool that has changed the way entrepreneurs raise money and has revolutionized the world of venture financing. Crowdfunding is a way of raising funds from a large number of people, typically through online platforms. It allows anyone with an idea to reach out directly to the main public, bypassing traditional financial systems, and find support from the people who believe in their vision. In this talk, we're going to explore how crowdfunding works, the different types of crowdfunding, and how companies have used this method to achieve success. We'll look at the stories like Brewdog, the famous UK-based craft beer company that raised millions through equity crowdfunding. And we'll touch on companies like Cobra Beer, which use reward-based crowdfunding to grow its brand. By the end of this talk, you will see how crowdfunding has not only opened doors for entrepreneurs, but has also empowered regular people to be part of something bigger than themselves. So let's dive in. Firstly, let's make sure we all understand what crowdfunding really is. Crowdfunding is the practice of raising small amounts of money from a large number of people to finance a project or business. These contributions often come from friends, family, or people who are simply passionate about the project. In the traditional world of business financing, entrepreneurs would have to seek out banks, venture capitalists, or angel investors to fund their ideas. This can be incredibly difficult for small businesses or startups. With crowdfunding, entrepreneurs can take ideas directly to the main public, people like you and me, through online platforms like Kickstarter, Indiegogo, or Crowdcube. Instead of asking one person for a huge amount, crowdfunding allows them to ask many people for smaller contributions. And here's the thing, crowdfunding is not just about raising money. It also is a powerful way to validate an idea. When people contribute to a campaign, they're not just giving you money, they're telling you, I believe in what you're doing. The global crowdfunding industry has grown rapidly over the decade. In 2013, crowdfunding platforms raised around $2.7 billion, but by 2023, that figure has skyrocketed to over $17.2 billion. Well, crowdfunding can take different forms, but today we're going to focus on two of the most common, popular types of crowdfunding, equity-based crowdfunding and reward-based crowdfunding. So, equity-based crowdfunding is a type of crowdfunding where people invest money in a company in exchange for shares or ownership of the company. In other words, if you invest in a company through equity crowdfunding, you become a part owner of that business. So let's take an example of Brewdog, a craft beer company that many of you may have heard of. In 2009, Brewdog did something revolutionary. They launched an equity crowdfunding campaign called Equity for Punks. Instead of seeking out traditional investors, Brewdog decided to offer shares of the company directly to the customers and public. The response was incredible. In the first round of crowdfunding, Brewdog raised £750,000 from over 1,300 people. The campaign didn't just provide the company with the money they needed to grow, it also built a loyal community of supporters who had a personal stake in the company's success. Fast forward to 2023, and Brewdog has raised over £100 million through multiple rounds of equity crowdfunding, with more than 2 lakh investors worldwide. Brewdog's success shows how equity crowdfunding can be an incredibly powerful tool for growing a business. But equity crowdfunding isn't just about raising money, it's about giving people a chance to feel like they're part of something much bigger than themselves. By allowing their customers to invest in the company, Brewdog didn't just create financial backers, they created brand ambassadors who felt a personal connection to the success of the company. Another great example of equity-based crowdfunding is Crowdcube, a UK-based crowdfunding platform launched in 2011. Crowdfunding Cube has helped thousands of companies to raise over £1 billion in funding. Through platforms like Crowdcube, a small startup can now access funding that was only available to large established businesses. The second type of crowdfunding we'll discuss is reward-based crowdfunding. This is a type of crowdfunding you're probably most familiar with. In reward-based crowdfunding, people contribute money to a project in exchange for a reward. This reward might be an early version of the product, exclusive merchandise, or some other benefit. One of the most famous examples of reward-based crowdfunding is Pebble Time. Well, the campaign quickly went viral and raised over $20 million from more than 75,000 backers, making it one of the most successful crowdfunding campaigns of all time. In the case of reward-based crowdfunding, backers aren't investing in the company, they're essentially pre-ordering a product, and this can be a great way for startups to raise money without giving equity in the business. A company that used reward-based crowdfunding effectively is Cobra Beer, founded by Karan Bilimora in 1989. While Cobra Beer grew through more traditional means in its early days, in 2020 it launched a reward-based crowdfunding campaign to support its international expansion. By offering exclusive beer products and branded merchandise as rewards, Cobra Beer was able to tap into the loyal customer base and raise money it needed to enter the new markets. Reward-based crowdfunding has also proven to be a useful tool for creative projects, from films and music albums to art installations. For example, in 2013, the film Veronica Mars raised $5.7 million on Kickstarter, allowing the filmmakers to produce a movie that fans had been demanding for years. Well, let us look crowdfunding and the broader world of venture financing. Now let's take a step back and look how crowdfunding fits into the broader world of venture financing. In the past, if you wanted to start or grow a business, your options for finances were pretty limited. You could apply for a loan from a bank, but this often came with high interest rates and strict conditions. Or you could seek out venture capital, but that usually means giving up a large portion of a company in exchange for investments. Crowdfunding has completely changed the landscape. It's a democratizing force. It allows entrepreneurs to raise money from regular people, not just wealthy investors or financial institutions. And unlike a bank loan, crowdfunding doesn't require you to pay the money back if the business fails. According to the data from Fundly, global crowdfunding is expected to grow at a rate of 16% over the year and over the next 5 years. As more people become aware of this method of financing, the more entrepreneurs are turning into crowdfunding to bring their ideas to life. In emerging markets like India, crowdfunding has played a particularly important role. Platforms like Wishberry and Keto have allowed thousands of entrepreneurs to raise money for creative projects, social causes, and business ventures. For example, Keto, which was founded in 2012, raised over 1,100 crores in Indian rupees. In a country where access to traditional financing can be difficult for small entrepreneurs, crowdfunding has provided an alternative path to success. Similarly, Wishberry, which focuses on creative projects, has raised over 400 million for more than 2,000 projects in India. Challenges and risks in crowdfunding. Now, while crowdfunding has its advantages, it's not without challenges. One of the biggest risks in crowdfunding is the potential for failure to deliver. Let's take example of Coolest Cooler. In 2014, the Coolest Cooler raised over 13 million on Kickstarter, promising backers a high-end cooler with built-in speakers and a blender and USB chargers. But despite the huge success of the campaign, the company faced significant production delays, and many backers didn't receive their coolers until years later, or at all. This highlights the importance of transparency and communication in crowdfunding. Entrepreneurs need to be clear about what they can realistically deliver and by when. Failure to meet expectations can damage a company's reputation and hurt future crowdfunding efforts. Another challenge is the legal and regulatory landscape. Equity crowdfunding, in particular, is subject to strict regulations in many countries. For example, in the UK, companies that want to raise money through equity crowdfunding must comply with the Financial Conduct Authority (FCA) regulations. This can make the process more complex and expensive, especially for small businesses. So, as we wrap up, let's take a moment to reflect on how crowdfunding has reshaped the landscape of venture financing. What once seemed impossible for small businesses and entrepreneurs, access to capital without the involvement of traditional gatekeepers like banks or venture capitalists, has now become a reality. Crowdfunding has democratized fundraising, making it possible for anyone with a compelling idea to raise funds from people all over the world. Through the examples we've discussed, we've seen both sides of crowdfunding coin. On one hand, there are incredible success stories like Brewdog, where equity crowdfunding turned a small Scottish brewery into a global brand. Brewdog didn't just raise funds, they created a movement where their customers became investors and ambassadors of the brand. This is the unique value crowdfunding offers, and it's hard to replicate through traditional financing methods. On the other hand, there are cautionary tales like the story of Coolest Cooler, which illustrate the potential of crowdfunding. Despite raising millions of dollars through reward-based crowdfunding, the company failed to deliver its promises, leaving many backers disappointed. This reminds us that while crowdfunding is accessible and full of potential, it also comes with risk, both for entrepreneurs and for those who invest or contribute. Transparency, planning, and realistic goals are essential to avoid overpromising and underdelivering. Well, crowdfunding, whether through equity-based models or reward-based platforms, is not just a funding mechanism. It's a form of a community building. It's a way for entrepreneurs to connect directly with their supporters and create something together. It's about giving people the chance to participate in the project they believe, whether that's creating a project, supporting a cause, or investing in a new business. The future of venture financing will likely see even more growth in its area, driven by new platforms, evolving technologies, and innovative regulatory frameworks that make crowdfunding more accessible to business of all sizes. Crowdfunding will continue to represent a simple yet powerful idea that people, everyday individuals, can come together to support ideas, products, and the causes they believe in. This connection between the creators and their community is what makes crowdfunding a transformative force in the venture financing. So, whether you're an entrepreneur looking for your next big idea, an investor looking for support a project, or just someone who is curious about how business gets off the ground, crowdfunding offers something for everyone. As it continues to evolve, one thing remains certain: crowdfunding has changed the way we think about financing, and it's set to drive innovation for years to come. Thank you.